Very good afternoon, and thank you for all of you for being here for this annual Army Day press conference. And this is an event which allows me and gives me an opportunity to reach out not just to the rank and file of the Army who are deployed in far-flung areas, but also to their families, veterans, and the citizens of the country. I look forward to a constructive and fruitful interaction. I would like to start today's proceedings by giving an overview highlighting some salient yet contemporary issues. If you recall the situation as it existed last January, I think we can say that since then there have been positive developments both along our northern and western borders. On the northern borders, we have continued to maintain the highest levels of operational preparedness, while at the same time engaging with the PLA through dialogue. After persistent joint efforts, mutual disengagement has occurred at many locations, of which I have been telling you from time to time. So that definitely is a very positive thing that has happened over the last 1 year. As we speak, the 14th round of the Corps Commander level talks are underway, and I am hopeful that you shall see further development in the days ahead. But while we say that, while there has been partial disengagement, the threat has by no means reduced, and the force levels are more or less the same, and from our side they have been enhanced. The threat assessment and internal deliberations that we have carried out from time to time have resulted in some reorganization and realignment of forces in keeping with the Army's mandate of ensuring our territorial integrity. And this also caters for the major augmentation that has taken place in the PLA's forces and their infrastructure. While we will continue to deal with the PLA in a firm and resolute manner, necessary safeguards are in place to take care of any contingency. Upgradation and development of infrastructure along the northern borders is also being carried out in a holistic and comprehensive manner. This includes roads, tunnels, all-weather connectivity, strategic railway lines, additional bridges across the Brahmaputra, storage facilities for fuel, oil, lubricants, supplies. So it is an all-round holistic development. Side by side, major efforts have also been undertaken to see what all dual-use infrastructure is there which can be made use of, which is available in the civil domain. On the western front, along the line of control, after a heightened situation for a long period, the DGMO's understanding in February last year was aimed at achieving a mutually beneficial and sustainable peace. Resultantly, the situation has seen a marked improvement. But notwithstanding that, there is an increase in concentration of terrorists in various launch pads, and there have been repeated attempts at infiltration across the LC. And needless to say, this once again exposes the nefarious designs of our western neighbor. But we on our part have resolved to show zero tolerance for terror, and we have committed ourselves to extract dire costs should that be forced upon us. In Jammu and Kashmir, the whole of government approach has led to a progressive improvement in the security situation. There have been efforts to give an indigenous hue to terrorism by setting up a facade of proxy terror tanzeems, but these attempts have failed miserably and have not got any public support. Various other inimical elements re-energized their attempts at disrupting peace in the valley, mainly by trying to target minorities, non-locals, migrant labor, and so on. However, this also has not succeeded very much, and we have been able to counter these challenges also. In the northeast, the overall security situation is under control. A robust security posture has significantly curtailed the operation space for terrorists. And in keeping with the improved situation, there has been a graduated de-induction of army units where the situation has improved and they have now free to concentrate on their primary task. On the India-Myanmar border, this is an important facet of our security calculus. Due impetus is being given to the border guarding role by the Assam Rifles. And here we do intend to progressively increase the number of Assam Rifle battalions deployed for border guarding of this very important India-Myanmar border. In the northeast again, the regrettable incident which happened in Oting in Nagaland on 4th of December is being thoroughly investigated. We remain committed to the security of our countrymen even during the conduct of operations. We have SOPs that encapsulate our operational experience, which have been refined over a period of time, and appropriate action will be taken and corrective measures instituted to further refine these. Capability for punitive strikes on the Western Front. Force restructuring, which is a very important facet for enhanced operational effectiveness and resultant structural optimization through the creation of integrated battle groups, is proceeding well. The IBGization, if I may call it that, of select formations along the western and northern borders will soon come to fruition. In line with our collective efforts towards greater synergy and integration, for the establishment of Theatre Command, we on our part are carrying out our deliberations in consultation with the other two services, in line and keeping in mind the timelines which have been given to us by headquarter IDS. We, that is the Indian Army, stand fully committed to jointness and synergy. There has also been a sustained and coordinated effort towards capability enhancement. The crisis on the northern borders gave us an opportunity to fast-track our infrastructure development and undertake doctrinal reviews and make up various operational voids which had been existing through emergency and fast-track procurements. While doing all this, the Indian Army, we are committed to the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, and we have prioritized our procurements so that maximum of this should go to the Indian industry. And at the same time, we are also hand-holding numerous indigenization projects, right from the design and development stage, right to the trials and their induction into the Army. For example, in the current financial year, out of the 20 AONs which were granted, 19 are in the Buy Indian category. We have also taken very significant steps on leveraging artificial intelligence, 5G, quantum technology to gain an edge over our likely adversaries and for better management of forces. The Indian Army's participation, of course, in various peacekeeping operations worldwide has ensured peace in various parts of the world and has helped us as a nation to carve a niche for ourselves in UN affairs. And as of now, we have more than 5,300 personnel deployed in 8 UN missions in various parts of the globe. Side by side, there has also been a lot of considerable, I would say, increase in the defense cooperation activities that we have been undertaking with our friendly foreign countries. And owing to our high standards of training, professional expertise, and the reliable defense technology that we have, more and more foreign countries have shown interest in engaging with us. And when required, we have walked that extra mile to accommodate the requests, especially from our immediate neighbors. We have also undertaken joint HADR exercises to synergize our efforts and resources. We recently concluded the PANEX 21 exercise for BIMSTEC countries in December 2021 at Pune, and earlier last year in November we had the exercise Konkan Shakti with the United Kingdom. And both these exercises were against the backdrop of a pandemic scenario. As far as our men are concerned, there has been a concerted effort in the field of human resource management, including meeting the aspirations of women officers. And in order to provide equal opportunities to them, not only have they been granted permanent commission in line with their main counterparts, but they can also aspire to attain higher ranks within the armed forces, and with that shoulder higher responsibilities also. And the permanent commission, grant of permanent commission to the officers of the junior batches, that process is also underway, as are the preparations to induct women cadets into the National Defence Academy from June 2022. As I mentioned earlier, the first batch of women soldiers who we had taken in the Corps of Military Police have not only finished the training, but have also joined the units and are performing exceedingly well. All these are major developments towards women empowerment in the Army. There has also been a special focus on the welfare of our veterans and families, more so at the time of the pandemic. Our outreach programs and campaigns to veterans and Veer Naris, especially those who were in distant parts of the country, far-flung corners, and are reaching out to them, ensured a settlement of a large number of their problems, and we shall continue, of course, to build on these efforts. Towards the end, I would like to acknowledge the support of the media to the Indian Army. You have ventured into challenging areas, often at great risk to your own lives, to bring the narrations and valor and tales of valor and sacrifice of our soldiers to the nation. Your reports from active operational areas have created better awareness among the citizens of our country of the challenges and the threats that we face. And these reports, I dare say, and from the feedback which I have received, have invariably led to a feeling of greater respect for the soldiers in uniform. And it is also an acknowledgement of the role that we, the uniform fraternity, play in keeping the nation safe and secure. But more than that, as conscience keepers of the nation, you have also highlighted areas where we need greater focus, and these have been part of the constructive feedback that we have received and which every organization requires to grow and become stronger, and for that we are all very grateful. And the military and the media both have a significant role to play, along with other pillars of the state, in building a strong nation. And towards that end, I look forward to a very strong and continued partnership between the two of us, the media and the military, in the times to come. With that, I will end my opening remarks, and I am now open to questions.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are extremely grateful to all of you who have logged in and those among you who have forwarded your questions in advance. We have received questions on varied topics, and therefore, for ease of conduct and assimilation, we will take all the questions pertaining to a particular topic or subject together. I will be reading out the questions and also the names of the journalists who have asked a similar question. Then I will request the Chief of the Army Staff to make his response. Let me move on to the questions now. Manish Prasad of India TV asks, how do you see your 2 years as Chief of the Army Staff? What are your
Can you show me, Manish, there?
What are your top operational as well as administrative priorities for this year? So.
Okay. Yeah, sorry for the interruption. I just wanted to see whether Mr. Manish Prasad was online so that I could see him while responding. But thank you very much for that question, and it's really 2 years have gone by in a flash, 24 months. When I took over, I was the 28th chief of the army and I had 28 months to go. And already 24 months have gone and I'm already in the last quarter of my tenure. It's unbelievable how time flies. But yes, the last 2 years have been extremely challenging, not only because of the COVID issue, but also because of the situation on the northern borders. And I dare say that our reaction and response to both these challenges was very robust, and we as an army have acquitted ourselves extremely well. As far as the COVID situation is concerned, I think our response to that, right from force preservation to augmentation of our capabilities, was very timely, and that enabled us to be prepared when the situation so demanded to be firm and have the required numbers to guard our borders, both the northern and western borders, and that did help to deal with the situation in eastern Ladakh as it developed. But as I said, I think that is a very important, these two things I would say is what occupied us and me personally for the last 2 years. However, I do feel that I could have done much more had the COVID thing not been there, because of the curtailment on movements and on the curtailment of various activities. I was not able to go out as much as I would have liked to the forward areas, to meet the men, to take part in various exercises with troops and be with them at the cutting edge, at the places where they were doing their jobs. But as I said, that's part of the game and the challenges which come up from time to time. But I think we have been able to meet these twin challenges of COVID and Eastern Ladakh, and yet at the same time also meet the challenge on the Western Front of proxy war. So the last 2 years, I think, we have acquitted ourselves very well as an organization and done whatever has been expected of us as an army to safeguard the interests of the nation.
We now have a set of questions on the situations along the northern borders and China. The first question on the topic is on our preparedness along the northern borders, and this is by Ajit Dubey of Asian News International. A similar question has also been asked by Madhurendra Kumar of News Nation and Vedika Sood of CNN International. The question is, what is the present situation on the northern borders? A lot of new equipment has been inducted into the Eastern Ladakh sector, while a lot of new purchases have also been made. Can you tell us how has the Indian Army emerged as a better prepared force through this conflict?
Well, I have been speaking to most of you all on the situation in Eastern Ladakh, how it developed and in what ways we have been dealing with it. And I think it is very clear that the Army's response to the Chinese attempts to unilaterally change the status quo were very robust, and we were able to thwart this design. But as I mentioned earlier, this also gave us an opportunity to review our operational plans, and based on that, a lot of activities were undertaken to augment our capabilities, not only in Eastern Ladakh, but all along the northern front. We were not just focusing ourselves on one side, but we took a very holistic view of the entire northern front. And to that end, it is not only augmentation of forces, but augmentation of infrastructure, weapons, equipment. And I dare say that in the last year and a half, our capabilities have increased manyfold as far as our northern front is concerned. We have inducted additional troops. We have made various infrastructure and billeting facilities for as many as 25,000 additional troops which had gone into that area. It is not only billeting but roads, tunnels, as I mentioned in my opening remarks, facilities for storage of ammunition and FOL, additional facilities to cater for any more increments that might take place in times to come. So all of these have been part of the efforts that we have made in the last year or so. And because of all that that we have done, I think we are in a much better position than we were a year and a half ago, and also much better prepared to meet any challenge that is thrown up in the future.
The next question pertains to the present status of the standoff and is asked by Srinjoy Chaudhary of Times Now and Krishan Kaushik of Indian Express. The question is, what is the position on the line of control in the following areas: PP15, Demchok and Depsang? And what are your expectations of the talks today?
Well, the talks have been ongoing for a long time, and the 14th round of talks are presently underway. As you are aware that it is a good thing that talks are going on. It shows that we can resolve our differences through dialogue, and that is why this mechanism is very important. The 4th and 5th round of talks resulted in resolving the issue at PP14. Thereafter, a number of other rounds took place, and by the 9th and 10th round, we were able to resolve the issues in the north and south bank of Pangangso, as also the Kailash ranges.
नमस्कार, मैं हूं मानक गुप्ता। अगर आपको हमारा ये वीडियो पसंद आया हो तो इसे लाइक और शेयर जरूर करें, और हां, हमें सब्सक्राइब और फॉलो करना ना भूलें ताकि आप देश और दुनिया की कोई खबर मिस ना करें। तो जुड़े रहिए हमारे साथ और देखते रहिए News 24।